All right, we're going to get started. So I'm going to start us in prayer in just a second here. Welcome to Congregational Roundtable version 3.0. And by version 3.0, I mean this is only the third time we've done this. We started doing this about a year and a half ago just because we're just incredibly open as a church, okay? We just want, like for instance, we gave all of you just our financial update. If anybody wants it at any time, just email us. Like, we'll just give it to you. But a lot of people just don't know that. And so this is our opportunity just to kind of open our hearts to you and to kind of lay everything out there. Here's what's going on. Here's an update on everything. You may have questions about one or more parts of our ministry. And so this is officially our biggest attendance by like double. Last time we did this, I think we had 20-some people here, and I think we had 700 people view it online, which is, tells you people are interested, but not interested enough to show up. So you are interested enough to show up. You are the few, the proud. For those watching at home, I hope that your couch is really comfortable. But these are like the warriors, the weekend warriors here. So we're excited to have them. We're going to open in prayer, and then I'll just kind of give you a snapshot of the night. So let's just start with prayer. Father God, we love you, and we love your kingdom. We love your bride, the church. There's nothing like it when it's working right. And God, we don't do everything right, but everything we do, we want to make sure is a fragrant offering to you. We want to make sure is our honest and best efforts. And so in moments like these where we have the opportunity for congregational sharing, questions, accountability, I thank you for moments like this. I just pray that we would walk out of here having had church in a way, encouraged, excited about where the Ransom is, where you have taken it, where you've brought it, and what you're going to do in the future. We're excited to be here with you in your name. Amen. All right, so let me just kind of give you a snapshot. We're going to bring a whole bunch of faces up here because instead of looking at me the whole time, I want you to just slowly meet a bunch of our staff. You won't necessarily meet all of them, but you'll meet a lot of them as they report on their different areas of ministry. The goal today is to update you on the major happenings at the Ransom. This is the most informal congregational, local church meeting you'll maybe ever be at. We're having a conversation. I apologize to those of you who thought there were actually going to be round tables here. I know there are some who are just severely disappointed and have already chastised me. Maybe later. We won't hit on everything, okay? We're not going to answer everything, and so please be taking notes about what you might have questions about, what you might want to know more about. There's no question that's out of bounds. This is that event. This is that place, that right place to ask all of those questions, okay? So we want to have the conversation here while we have the opportunity while we're all in the same room. We're going to do our best to cover as broad spectrum of topics as possible, and at the end we're going to open up to questions. So we will have breaks for questions after each person speaks, but if you just got some more general questions and we don't hit on them by the end of the night, be taking notes so you can say, yeah, you didn't address this, I want to hear more about that, and we'll answer those questions. So first thing I want to do is reintroduce our elder team. For those of you who do wonder, we do have an elder team. We are a part of the Wesleyan denomination, for those who don't know, and we are in what's called developing church status, which means we planted fairly recently. We're only 5 years old, okay? And so right now, our major source of accountability is our district board. They serve as a governing body for us. That said, we wanted some local accountability, and so we have a team of elders that we are locally accountable to. The reason I want to reintroduce you is this is the church has grown. We found a need for more accountability. Andy Ott, who, did everybody get this sheet? If you didn't get this sheet, just slip your hand up and somebody, I'm sure, will run you one. But this has a picture of our elder team on it. So Andy Ott, who is also right now our volunteer prayer coordinator, him and Kristen Toops do that together. She's the assistant. Andy and his wife are heading to the mission field soon. We don't know how soon, but they just got back literally this last week from a little venture over to Zambia. They're working in Zambia, but not with Poetis, not that with the group. They're actually going to do medical missions in a place called Kitwe. which is very, very north in the Copper Belt region, almost into the Congo. You can almost throw a rock into the Congo. So he's going to be leaving us soon, so that was one thing. We're like, wow, we're losing an elder. And then in the meantime, Jim Cook is one of our elders, and we hired his wife. And Edie Mueller is one of our elders, and her husband works for us. And we started going, oh, this is like, we don't want to look like we just got staff and spouses. We need to like have a better representation here. So we added 4 new individuals. Our elders voted to extend an invite to 4 additional individuals. The new ones on this sheet are Colin Steen, Kyla Briney, Jim Roddle, and Don Vandentop. Our elder team is a team that meets bi-monthly. They are not a local board, okay? They're not, we're an elder, what I would call an elder-driven, staff-led church, okay? The day-to-day operations are led by the staff, so they're not an elected body. Because our district board is that body, we are staff-run, elder-driven, but they exist for accountability, prayer, to give us advice, and when we do have to have some sort of a congregational body, leadership body voting on some issue, which usually has to do with hiring or firing me. So we haven't had that vote, thank goodness. And major building things, like before we brought this building project, they voted on those types of things. But I would encourage you, a lot of these elders are here tonight. I'd encourage you to find them, talk to them, ask them questions. They want to be a resource to you. You can ask them the things that you want to ask us, but you don't want to ask us. Go ahead and ask them, and they'll answer. But they're literally there to hold us up in accountability. In fact, we have a strategy that we use with this team called the Aaron and Her prayer strategy. It's something we kind of came up with, God laid on our hearts. You read that story about Moses and how when he was lifting his hands up, the Israelites were winning the battle, and then he drops his hands and they start losing the battle. Can you imagine the pressure of that? Like, you're like, oh, my arms are tired, and like 50 guys die. You're like, oh, whoa, right? There's a lot of pressure keeping your hands up. And so what we've done is we've partnered with every one of our pastoral staff, 2 elders. And those elders act like Aaron and Her. They hold up their hands, okay? So they meet with them for accountability and prayer, take them out to lunch, encourage them every once in a while, just pour into them. And so that is one of the major roles of our elder team. So that's a little bit, we wanted to just let you know we have expanded that team so that we have more accountability, honestly. So be sure to catch them. Any questions on that? I don't think there should be any, but cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to go through and we're going to start giving you updates. So I want you to hear a little bit about what's going on with our multi-site in our Harrisburg campus. You guys excited to hear about that? So Pastor Wayne's going to come. We had 2 preview services. Yep. We launched March 2nd with weekly services. And how many people did you have today?
We had 130.
Oh, there's a mic there for the people on the record.
We had...
Let me flip it on. And just leave it on.
We had 139 today. It was fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's been a real cool journey so far, and it's just young. But we've at our first previous service, I think we had 105. The next preview we had 111, and then our launch we had dropped down to 105 again, and then back up today to 139. So things are going in the right direction. A guy got saved today. A couple guys got saved last week. So to me that's what it's really all about. Is save souls. So it's going great. We've got a great leadership team. God's been awesome. The location's worked out fine. Just keep praying for us. That's the most you guys can do is pray for us. And if you have any friends that are looking, or any of you guys are looking for a good church, I know there's one. Okay.
Yeah. If you get sick of this one,
but it's going fantastic.
How's community? The community been open?
Really good. Like every week now, like today, for instance, I got a chance to look at all the hub connections and whatnot. And I met today 4 or 5 couples who were there for the first time. Another 4 or 5 families who are back. So the community is open. It seems like people are just hearing about it, but in all honesty, we've done a pretty good job of getting the name out there with the turkey drive we did and the Christmas thing we did, and people are talking about that, and people are asking, "How'd you hear about us?" It's through one of those things. So
great.
We've got some great feedback from the community. Really, it's been fantastic. Really
great.
Good.
Yeah. Phil Wiseman. Where's Phil at? I'm going to have Phil come on up and just sit up here with Wayne. I'm going to have Phil speak to you. We've got a unique situation going on with Harrisburg in that we're close enough that we can kind of still cross paths a little bit, you know what I mean? which has its pluses and minuses. But I'm going to let Phil, I'll get out of the way. I'm going to let Phil speak to you specifically on the impact of what we're doing with worship teams. So, Phil, go ahead and just share.
Okay. So yeah, one of the challenges of launching a site is how we're going to do music. And we have chosen to kind of develop a team of worship leaders. Right now, well, let me actually back up a little bit. Right now, all of our musicians, we're rotating them through both campuses. And so that means that a musician that plays downtown will also play in Harrisburg until we can raise up more musicians from the Harrisburg campus, and we hope that that's sooner than later. Because honestly, what's happened is we've essentially split our worship team in half. Because now on every Sunday morning, I have 2 drum slots to fill instead of 1, and so we're essentially cut ourselves in half. But we have a lot of really wonderful musicians, so it works. And God just blessed us from day one, really, of this church. We've had tremendous musicians, and everybody's been really willing to help out. So as far as worship leaders go, what we're doing is I'm working with a team of 4 other worship leaders. Steph Tagg is one of them. Whitney Garner, who led worship this morning here downtown, or the Downton campus, like I like to call it. Also, Aaron Booth is one of them, and then Jake Versteeg. And so what we're going to be doing is, more or less, I'm going to be leading worship every other week, bouncing back and forth between each campus, and then opposite of me, those 4 will be leading worship wherever I'm not, although sometimes schedules get funny. So, for instance, I'll be in Harrisburg next week as well, even though I was there this week. So, but then I'll be downtown 2 weeks in a row. So that's kind of what's going on. You're going to be seeing me roughly half the time, depending on what campus you're at. But the idea of creating a team approach to worship leading, I think, is actually the most kingdom-minded way to do it. And even if we were to ever hire a worship leader for Harrisburg, a full-time worship leader for Harrisburg, I would still maintain this team of worship leaders and try to include them in leading worship, because it's so vital that a ministry, especially one like worship leader, where we kind of walk this funny line where we place ourselves in a situation where we are coming dangerously close to the very thing that our culture idolizes the most, and that is their musicians, right, or their rock stars. We're putting ourselves on a stage with microphones and guitars under lights. So what needs to happen, I think, in order to have a really good Spirit-led, Christ-exalting worship ministry is that it's not about one guy or one woman. But rather it's a team. And so that's what we're trying to develop, and that's my goal here. So that's a really long way of saying you only see me every other week.
Thanks, Phil. And everybody at the Downton campus said, "Oh, Phil, we're going to miss you so much."
It's been, actually, I was going to add to that. It's been a real blessing, because every week, the cool thing about having such a deep bench for worship here is that every week, like whether Phil's there or Steph's or whoever's leading, the worship is awesome. Like today was fantastic, last week was fantastic, and there's no drop, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. One of the impacts that has on us moving forward, and I'm going to talk about this a little later, is, one of the questions we get asked all the time is, when are we going to do a 4th service? And really what people are asking is, when are you going to do a night service? That's what we're a little consumeristic as a culture. If you don't know this, we are, right? And so people are going, I got to work sometimes. When are we going to do a night? That's what they're really asking. And we've been wrestling with that and have always been leaning towards Sunday night. At this point, we're probably leaning more towards Saturday when we do pull that trigger. And the reason for that, the reason we didn't want to do that is our families. Okay. The reason that we're leaning towards that is for our tech team. Like, think about this. At 8:30, they record that service, they upload it, and they use it at 10:15. I mean, the turnaround is completely dependent on technology, which is totally scary, right? They're close enough. They're completely dependent on technology and or running it out there physically, right? We can do that, but if we want to do another campus down the road, say in Laverne or one of these further out communities, we have zero probability of doing that unless we can do something the night before. And so that's one of the reasons we're leaning that direction that may affect our choices. Anything that as the downtown campus we can do to support Harrisburg right now?
Other than prayer, Phil, what I've been seeing and watching happen, God has been really bringing people, the right people, when we need them, as far as worship people or as far as leadership people. And I didn't even talk to Phil about this yesterday, but I met a couple today that are new to the church, and he just happens to be a drummer and a musician, and she happens to be a worship leader. So, I haven't had the conversation with her, but just But God's doing that. We're
Just
praying-
happens.
Just
Just
happens.
it just happens.
But we've been praying that God would bring people, and right from the beginning, that was my prayer. God, you bring the people, you bring the leaders, you bring the people we need to do this to honor you the most, and He is literally bringing people in. So keep praying that with us along with that. It'd be fantastic.
Amen. We will do that.
Yeah.
So that's our multi-site. Hold on to those questions for a second. Before you dive into any questions you might have on that, Wayne is playing two roles right now. He's our multi-site campus pastor. He's also running our compassion ministry, which is anything we do serving outside our doors. And so, Wayne, why don't you give us an update, what's going on, what's coming, what we can be.
Sure. Yeah. If you guys, some of you have been here a while, some of you have not. So just as you know, Ransom Church, we're a church that serves, and we're served because Christ called us to. We serve because Christ called us to serve. And part of my role here, my role as compassion pastor, is to create opportunities for people not only to serve but to learn how to serve and to do it well with a Christ-like attitude. So, that being said, for example, yesterday we just for the first time had what we call Love Sioux Falls, where we had 350 probably people are out serving between Friday and Saturday all throughout Sioux Falls and Harrisburg, and just starting to get reports back now from people in the life groups, but also from the places we served as well. And I know as the days go on, he will get more and more reports. But it was just a fantastic day, and there's something happens when you serve together like that just builds your spirit. And this time we did the Love Sioux Falls. We coordinated through the life group. So if you're in a life group, you heard a lot about it. And if you're not in the life group, you heard about it from the pulpit here. But in the future, as we do events like this, where we can funnel all that service through the leaders of life groups and life groups themselves, that's what you'll see happening in the future. So that's Love Sioux Falls. And then there's other things like Friday night we had the banquet, and many of you are familiar with the service we do at the banquet. That'll be an ongoing thing. That'll happen again this summer. We'll be serving at the banquet again. It's an opportunity for 80 or 90 people to go in and serve on a Friday evening, Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon dinner. This summer we'll do things just like a summer of service. We'll be as organized, but probably a little less intense in the summer because of the people's schedules in the summertime, and we're all learning that summertime in Sioux Falls can be short, so we might as well enjoy it the best we can. But we'll do things like the dollar car wash. We'll serve at the banquet. We'll do hot Harley nights, and some other things that will have opportunities for our church to get involved and continue to serve in the community, but perhaps with a little less intensity than we would otherwise during the life group season. And then the closet, when I mentioned the closet, you're familiar with the clothing giveaway that we do. We just had our last one in February. It was just a fantastic outreach. That's an opportunity for you who don't know, for the people in need in our community here to come in and get clothes, get free clothes. But we're trying to up the ante, so to speak, on that, and really try to connect with the people coming in, not just giving them a handout, but actually connecting with them at a heart level. And so we just rearranged things this time, and it just went really, really awesome. So you're going to see that changing as time goes on too. The next closet event is in August. It's booked now, tentatively on the calendar, depending on our renovations downstairs, that Pastor Phil's going to talk about later. But depending on the schedule of that down there, we'll be planning it in August, another closet event again. So that'll be another thing this summer that's taking place. Another thing I want to mention, I forgot to mention when I talked about the Love Sioux Falls, we've partnered with 211 and by a lady there, Sarah Carruthers. And this has been just a beginning relationship we have with her, but it's going to be one of those relationships, Phil, that really helps us as a church do what we're called to do. She is 211 is a well-organized, and she is a lady who knows how to coordinate, and she's the one that actually helped us coordinate these 40 tasks that we did yesterday and help us disseminate these volunteers out. So that's going to be a relationship in the future that we'll be continuing to build and continuing to build on as well. So that was fantastic. Missions, we've got a Casas per Cristo trip heading off here in May. We're going to Juarez again to build a couple of homes. We've got a team already full. Team is 33, and that's about the max we can go with this time. And then there'll be other trips as the year goes on. In the fall, we'll be going back to Casas again. And Poetas, we're going back to Zambia in November.
November 28th.
28th. Phil's leading that. So.
Yeah, no, I'm leading that trip. That's why I'm jumping in here.
Yeah.
November 28th through December 11. It's 2 weeks, and
yeah.
I need 10 people. So, hey, how about you?
Could be one of you here.
Could be.
Or two of you, or 10 of you. But that's fantastic. And again, these are two great ministries that the church supports and supports well. as you know, Ransom believes in supporting well. So those will continue on. Just a couple of other short things. As Pastor Phil mentioned, Andy, Ott, and Jennifer will be heading off to Zambia sometime in the next 12 to 15 months, and we're going to be supporting them as a church the best we can with prayer and some financial support as well. So just be keeping them in your prayers, as I know what that feels like when you're starting to plan to head off and to leave your home country, so to speak, but following what God has for you guys. So it's going to be a fantastic journey. And the last thing I want to mention is our Safe Families ministry. That is you may or may not have heard about Safe Families. Safe Families is just a fantastic, wonderful ministry that we just recently got involved in. We were the first church to start this off in South Dakota. Safe Families is just a ministry that allows us to open up our homes to children that are in need, or children that are possibly in danger, mostly just in need, where maybe a single mom or a single dad is having trouble for whatever reason, through addictions or through whatever problems they may be having, and just need some help to take care of their kids for a short season. We've already got, in our own church, we've got six host families. We've already taken in upwards of about 11 or 12 situations where we've taken kids in for a short period of time, like a matter of days or weeks or even up to a couple of months. And it's just my wife is a host, and we get involved with some of these situations, and it's just a great, awesome ministry, and we are really being the hands and feet of Jesus. We get to pour into these kids and pour into these moms and dads in a very, very special way. So let me encourage you, if you haven't found your place to plug in yet, check out Safe Families, and God may have a place there for it. It can literally change your life as you change the life of someone else, and that's what we're called to do as God's children, I think. So.
Yeah, my wife and I serve as respite care in Safe Families is designed to be pre-foster care. Like, let's keep kids out of the foster care system, okay? And so we just actually, there was a host family for a little girl that had her for several weeks while mom got coaching and tried to get her life straightened out. And my wife had the privilege of giving the host family a break. We serve as respite, which means we're cleared as a host family, and if a host family just needs a weekend or they're going to be out of town traveling, we'll jump in and take that child for the weekend. And we had a little girl named Stephanie in our home, and just incredible experience. Just great for our kids to, if you got kids, to remind them that, oh yeah, life's not about me. There's actually problems and stuff going on. So if you want to know more about that, see Angel Metzger and our office administrator. She is the head of Safe Families for our church. Just
the last thing I want to mention, Phil, about Safe Families too, in particular, it's one of those ministries where it's really caused me myself to. We're dealing with a lot of people who are literally down and out at some point, at some place in their life, and it's really helping me and us as a ministry staff to understand how people in that state think, and how they don't think sometimes like we do, and sometimes we can't understand why people do the things they do. Well, they do the things they do because they do the things they do, and that's how they survived. And it's really taught me and my wife, as we've ministered through this, is to really be patient with people, and really it's where the love of Christ can best shine through when you yourself are tested. So
yeah, it's a big old mess.
It's
I'm going to tell you, people are a big old mess, right? And our call as Christians is to get right in the middle of that mess. Cool. So Safe Families is one of the things we're probably most passionate about right now. And Harrisburg. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Wayne before we invite the next staff up? Yeah, over here. You know what? Let's. This is poorly planned. So, Cody, why don't you take this, and then Phil, I'm gonna pull one over from the piano. I poorly planned this. So, let me. There you go.
Can you just remind us where you are meeting in Harrisburg?
Yes, we are meeting at the South Middle School. You go up Cliff, go south on Cliff, through the main intersection, and it's just beyond, right behind Subway. You cannot miss it. South Middle School in Harrisburg. Can't miss it. Right on Cliff. If you drive up there Sunday morning, you'll see the van, you'll see the signs. It's pretty well marked.
Any other questions? No question is silly, okay?
We have childcare.
Yes, we have childcare. We have fantastic childcare, and Shannon and Jeff Barron take care of the Ransom kids down there, and they're doing just a fantastic job. We had about 20 kids or so there today all total, so it was fantastic. Yeah, full service. It's fantastic.
Shannon is on, if you look on the elder team sheet, Shannon is one of our elders. One of the things I'm really excited about Harrisburg is we have several of our elders that are actually part of the Harrisburg campus too. So we're getting kind of a cross-section of both campuses, which is cool. All right, if you think of another question, just save it to the end. We're going to move on, and Wandi, why don't you come on up? I'm going to invite Wandi up. He's going to talk to us about our life group semester. How many of you are in a life group? Yeah, that makes him excited. It makes me excited. We're obviously right in the middle of a semester. I'm going to allow Wandi to share some updates with us, and he may talk a little bit more about Love Sioux Falls because we tried something new and let Compassion Ministry and life groups date, and it was a beautiful relationship.
It hasn't broke up yet.
Yeah, they haven't broke up. Like any relationship, it has ups and downs, but we really, really believe that that's not just like, hey, let's try this new strategy. We just need, these worlds need to be living together, and they're not compartments. We don't like do small groups and then we serve and then this is how we do life together. So Wandi, share with us a little bit about life groups.
Yeah, life groups are pretty amazing. Like you said, they're going, everyone raised their hands in here, and that's just an exciting thing. I want to give you just a snapshot on what's going on with life groups. I'm not going to be up here for too long, but I'm going to give you a brief overview on where we're at and kind of where we're going and touching up on Love Sioux Falls and what's happened so far. Right now, we have about 450 people signed up for a life group, okay? That's pretty exciting number for us, and that's not counting guests who have been attending life groups. So realistically, 450 it's a humble estimate. I would say we're more around 500 people pushing that in life groups, okay? And this is what you need to know. Most churches look at percentages and say if 25% of people, or 24 or 20% of people of the congregation is in a life group, then there's success. Right now we're breaching 40%. And that's only to God, and that's pretty exciting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a team effort, and so that's where we're at with life groups. It's pretty exciting, and I want to share. You mentioned, Phil, about going out beyond Sioux Falls, and as we go forward, we currently have a group in Brandon, in Harrisburg. Obviously, we just planted a group in Hartford, and we've tried a group in Del Rapids as well. So we're looking to stretch life groups beyond just the Sioux Falls area, and we're being very intentional about reaching out. You mentioned Laverne, different cities that we feel that we may be called to go and plant there and have a church. So we believe that much in life groups. And for us, I say numbers like 450, 40%, and that's great. But life groups at the Ransom, it's more than just a hangout. I feel like sometimes churches look at life groups as like you kind of have to do them. Like, what's a church without a life group? We've taken a step this semester to really identify life group as a covenant community. Some of you guys in here may be wondering what that means. Covenant community is something that Phil and I have been sharing. He's been reading some really great material. We've been putting our heads together to see how to take life groups deeper. Okay, so what makes me excited about 450, closer to 500, is that these are people who are entering into covenant community, which stands for three things happen in covenant community: community, communion, and mission. Okay, those are the three components to a covenant community, a life group here at the Ransom Church. Community, we've done pretty well. Okay, that's when people get together and they hang out and they do life together. That's pretty awesome. Communion is when it goes just a step deeper. This is when your life group is your family. Okay, you're there for each other. When you hurt, they hurt. If you have a phone call, family emergency happens, you call your life group leader or your group. They band together. And I have a really cool story about that. I'll share that with you in just a second. And then mission is what we've been doing in life groups. Okay, that's where we've done Love Sioux Falls. Okay, and I think the number was more like 377 people registered for Love Sioux Falls and some guests. And that's just an amazing thing that we do through life groups. That's living out the mission component of covenant communities. And we also do Hawthorne. Many of you guys may or may not know this, but we are very intentional. Even before I came to staff, we've been connected to Hawthorne for quite some time now. And for the first time this semester, the 87 staff people at Hawthorne, okay? This is part-time teachers, special ed, aides, from clerical staff to the principal, every single person is being sponsored by a life group.
Even the janitors.
Even the janitors. Okay, so in
Right?
the cafeteria workers and everything. I mean, that's through life groups. Okay, so it's not just like get in a life group. When we say that, it's not haphazard. We really want people to be a part of a life group. We believe in it that much that it's I would say it's not the only thing that matters. A lot of things matter here. Your preaching's
The
good.
only thing that matters to him.
Your
'cause
preaching's
that's-
good, but not that good. So-
That's right.
So I might be fired. We'll talk after this. But anyways, so mission, yeah. Like bird, squirrel. But that's pretty amazing, isn't it? That 87 staff people are covered all through life groups. And you should see the notes that come in sometimes in the staff. And it's just, and we're having a training coming up on March 29th. And I'm going to share a story with my life group leaders about a letter that we received that was just pretty amazing from a teacher who received a gift from a life group at the right time and really boosted their faith in Jesus Christ. So that's just a cool thing that life groups get to do. So community, communion, and mission. Now, I want to tell you about a story about communion where it just goes a step deeper. I'm in a life group right now. I do Financial Peace University with the Petersons. I'm really enjoying it, and it so happens, not by accident, that there's a family, there's the Petersons family and another family, and both of their parents were dying of cancer when they started the group, or in the process of dying. They're in hospice care. Turns out, a couple of weeks ago, within a 3-day period, both parents died. Okay, so the leaders of the life group and the other family. So the parents died in Iowa. They they passed about 20 miles away from each other. So the funeral comes up, and I was talking to the gentleman after the Monday. We meet on Mondays after both their parents passed away. And he mentioned to me that the leader of the group came to the service of his mother who passed away, and he was shocked. He never told them he was coming. Okay, so there's about 500 people who show up to the funeral. He's waiting in line, and at the very end, he sees his life group leader there to comfort him, and he just broke down in tears. And he said, I've been wondering where I should be plugged into a church, but this is it. Like, I'm in a group, I'm in Financial Peace University, and my life group leader's there. He never met my mom, he doesn't know, but he was there, and his wife was there, and that made all the difference. And that's what we're about. We're about being the smallest big church in Sioux Falls, and it's not the big, it's the small, it's the covenant communities, it's the intentionality with life groups, and that's what it's all about. And it's not just something that we just throw around and get people to sign up. When I say 450 approaching 500, it's because we believe in it that much, and we won't stop until every single person's a part of that. Right. So I talked about that mission. Something that you need to know that we're trying to do for the summer is we're trying to build bridges in between semesters. We know that our semesters run from August to December, life groups, and then from January to about April, May. So we want to build strong bridges for the summer. This summer, we're going to incorporate two things that help people stay connected. First is an event that we're going to do sponsored by life groups in June to get everyone together and have fun. I'm not going to share details about that because we're still working on them, and my leaders don't even know about them, okay? And some of you guys are in here like, what? Like, yeah, it's coming. So that's one thing. The second thing is we're going to create an environment where people can still connect into a life group during the summer, and that's going to be ran by some of our staff who are teaching about things that they're really passionate about, and I'm incredibly excited that that's coming up. So we're really trying to be intentional with this covenant community, with life groups, to really, it's live free, okay? Worship free, live free, serve free. We're pouring a lot of effort in it because we just believe in it that much. And that's where our life groups, and that's just, it's pretty exciting. So,
Yeah.
Is there anything I missed or any?
I don't think so.
Any
yeah,
questions?
When you think about this summer,
Yeah.
think about hanging out and think about summer school.
Sure.
Okay? Nobody can do a 12-week life group in the summer. It's just tough, right? But if you were really interested in a 4-week summer school class taught by one of our staff about, whatever topic, we're going to have several summer school courses this summer that we're going to try out. It's going to be exciting. So sign up. To hear that story about, and you got to understand, this is a life group leader who is mourning the loss of his own family member and takes a time in that mourning to minister out of his mourning. When you enter into people's pain with them, when you walk with them, we do really good as a body of Christ at rejoicing when others go, oh, you got the promotion, good job, we don't mourn well together. We don't enter people's grief well. And so thanks to life groups, we've had that opportunity. So that's a really cool story.
Yeah, it's really to the leaders.
Yeah.
They just get it.
So, any questions for Wandi on life groups? All right. Hey, thanks, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Awkward silence is good. All right, so we're going to invite Pastor Jason up and tell you about one of the coolest ministries in our church that doesn't get enough press. And part of the reason it doesn't get enough press is because Jason's humble and his team is humble. And part of the reason is because it all happens outside our doors. But you might hear about this. If you hear about this ministry and you go, why have I not heard about that? That's the ministry for me. He will totally recruit you, and so you should totally tell him. But he's going to tell you about a ministry called The Loop, which covers his job title as Jason's. I would say he's beyond our visitation pastor. He's our pastor of spiritual care. And so, Jason, tell us about The Loop.
Okay, well, honestly, I think I have a way better job than Phil does. So
Yeah.
we're all going to get fired, Wandi, I'm pretty sure.
You do have a better job than me.
Yeah, my job is my job's really incredible because I have an incredible team of people. We encompass visitation at the hospital, nursing homes, the prisons, just to go in to see people when they're hurting the most. And I would describe it as this, is that we bring the church to them, and we now have 8 services, 9 locations, and we literally just be with people. You'd be surprised how many people are lonely in this world.
That was a really humble way of describing what's happened, okay? We have 8 services. Like, do you understand? We have teams that go to different nursing homes all around this community and put on church when nobody else is doing church. We have a team that goes to juvenile detention center and puts on church when nobody else is doing church. We have a team that goes to the Arch, right?
Not the Arch.
Not the Arch, the Glory House.
Glory House.
When nobody else would. Like, these are all volunteers who they do worship, and they got guys who take our message
Yep.
and re-preach it. So he's being super humble about. We have. What do we have in attendance today at nursing homes?
It's probably about 140 every week.
Is that not crazy? Like, praise God for that. So I celebrate that. So tell us
Well,
more.
so it's incredible ministry, but it takes almost about 100 people right now to do all that we're doing, and we're just praying for more. So if you care about visiting somebody and touching somebody's lives, who, honestly, I could tell you story after story of how somebody who is utterly alone, has no friends or family, and probably because they haven't treated their friends and family they had well, and the church comes alongside and just we accept them for who they are, and we just love on them. And probably the biggest shout out is I would give is to Audra right now. Audra ID goes out and does visitation at the hospital, and she has a ministry. There's about 10 people involved, but she literally goes every week to see people. In fact, I was gone for the last 2 weeks, and her and several others went to the hospital to see people and just bring them comfort. They always bring them a prayer blanket, a prayer, and just kind of walk alongside them in their needs. So,
And we have people. We actually have a prayer shawl ministry. Where's Melody over here? She would recruit you too. These gals make prayer shawls, and do you have any guys in there?
her and June.
Okay, so June and Melody, they just guys are welcome. Hey, if you want to make a blanket, awesome. I know how to crochet. I learned because I thought my wife was hot, and she was. So then I learned. So don't judge me. That's how I got my wife. I learned how to crochet. And that's true. But they make all the prayer shawls that we give away and just story after story you could hear of incredible things happening through that.
I think Melody's team gave away over 90 blankets, and truthfully, it just came out of people's pockets. But I do have really one big piece of news. Last week, at Wednesday night at JDC, Damien and Stacy Heidelberg, who run that service there, had a young woman accept Jesus Christ. And it seems to happen almost every week. There's something big going on where they're touching lives, and I know God keeps opening these doors for
Well, a couple of weeks ago, they baptized a kid.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't get
to it yet.
Okay, so they're looking. He wants to be baptized.
He wants to
though.
be baptized.
In juvenile, which means in juvenile detention center means like with a water bottle because they won't let you have, obviously. but my God, I mean, what an incredible ministry, and so if you're interested in that kind of thing, what does Loop stand for? Why is it called Loop?
Well, it had several little versions of it, but it really stands for loving on our people. And basically, we have this attitude of adoption. We're adopting nursing homes, we're adopting places where they don't get church every week, and we go to them as the church. So thanks for all that you guys do, because I know a lot of you are here that help, and just even your prayers are coveted. So
Yeah, and so if you're here and you're interested in that, or if you're at home and you're interested in that and you want to know more about that, please contact this guy. He wants to recruit you desperately. So, because they literally can plant new services in these nursing homes as fast as they can get people to do it. So, I mean, that's really what it amounts to. It's just amazing how we haven't looked for another service. God's just opened door after door after door after door. And
for sure.
Yeah, so his job is awesome.
Oh, yeah, it is way more awesome
Yeah,
than yours.
so- All right.
Thank you.
We're going to switch gears completely. I'm going to invite LISSA MURAWSKI up. Her name is not Lisa. It is not Alyssa. It is LISSA. Don't mess it up. LISSA is office manager / queen of the office. She has had that title since it was just Phil Wiseman and I. And she came on and basically fixed everything because our office had turned into like a college dorm room and it was brutal. And so she just, yeah, you can stand if you want. She just fixes stuff. So LISSA is going to give you an update on finances and our building and timetable for that and all that good stuff.
All right. So first I'm going to talk about the building renovation. We are moving right along in the basement. If you haven't been down there, after this, we can give you some tours down there. You can see what's going on. We have walls up, and it's really, really exciting to see what's going on down there. It's been a long process of just meeting with architects and getting everything organized, where we want it, and it's really cool to be able to see it come to life. And we are currently working with Jan's Corporation, which has just been fantastic. All of the contractors that we've been working with, or the subcontractors, have just been great. And so the cool thing, I think, that people, and one thing that I never realized either, even at the beginning of doing this project upstairs, is the subcontractors who get to come in, we are building relationships with them too. And it's such a ministry for the guys who are working. We get to hang out and talk, and it's not just a job for them. I think it's cool that we can pour into them as individuals too. And even in our last project, we've had guys start coming to the church and bringing their families, and so I think it's just an awesome extension of the fact that we're just making a space for us to use for our ministry. So the current bid, all of this information is kind of on the back of your sheet, so this is going to be really, really exciting, but we will talk about, just a whole bunch of numbers thrown at you. And then for the viewers, at least you'll be able to hear what we have. So the total project that we bid included the finishing and completion of the basement. We're going to be expanding onto the back dock for our backstage area, and then we're going to be doing a few things out in the lobby, taking the main walls that used to be the old offices, which is now kids area. That's going to be removed, and then we're expanding the women's restrooms. Woo! So that entire project, yes, we need that. That entire project the bid came in at $1,630,000. Our goal, obviously, is to save as much in the process as we can. We were approved by Wesleyan Investment Foundation. That is our loan, where we're getting our loan from, for $1.2 million. And we raised, our goal was $400,000 in the congregation before we even started the project, and we actually raised $415,000. So hopefully with the loan, it is a draw loan, so they don't just give it all to us. We basically will just, as the bills come in, we'll just keep drawing, and be, if we don't use the 1.2, then we don't have to pay a mortgage on 1.2, so that's kind of how the loan is going to work. Up to date right now, With our expenses, we have spent $269,702, and that includes Vanderwall and Associates, they're our architect, Jan's Corporation, Lloyd Companies we've been working with out in the front here on getting the ramp and the street completed. They're going to be finishing some stairs off the side. And then one thing I forgot to mention with the original bid is there will be a vestibule built onto the front, and it's going to be poured out a little bit wider so we have better access for wheelchair accessibility and that. So our estimated time, that's the thing that I get asked the most. When is it going to be ready? When are we ready to go? And, you know, it's just been so awesome with Jan's. They are, like I said, they're moving right along, and this has really been a great project. We haven't run into a lot of problems or setbacks at all. Right now in the basement, we have four very large steel columns coming into the big kids area. And 2 of them are here, so we're waiting for the other 2. There's a steel shortage, so that's been one hiccup, but they still are in the process. We're hoping, you can be praying this week that the other 2 will be in, so then we can get those installed. We have run into a little bit of standstill with getting a building permit for the back side of the building. Our property line actually sits on the dock, and so that's been kind of weird. With the city owns the property right next to us, so just getting on the same page about, you know, what we can do and where we can build, and it's all been resolved, and we're going to be moving forward with getting that building permit, and soon we'll be able to start back there once the ground is a little bit softer and we can get started. So just a couple little things, but nothing too major with the project, and it's been really exciting. So the basement, as long as nothing else, or, you know, we all know how construction works. So best case scenario, we're hoping the end of May, beginning of June of 2014, this year, to be able to occupy the basement. At that time, we'll move into phase 2, which in the process, they'll probably start the back, but then we will close the restrooms up here in the women's restrooms, where we'll be able to use the restrooms in the basement for the women. And unless you want to use the porta potty out here.
Also available.
Also available.
Also available. We will make sure there's TP.
I wouldn't recommend it. But, and then at that time, we may not be able to move our kids. That is, the majority of the basement is going to be used for our kids' programming. In the process, the back of the building is going to be where we draw most of the electricity and power for the basement. So we may not be able to move the kids down there right away, but for sure trying to just gain occupancy for the restroom area part so that we can start this side and get the women's restrooms up to date. Once we get the kids in the basement, then we'll be able to do the process out in the lobby and then move towards the front of the building once the other exit has to be completed, and then we'll be able to close these off for a couple weeks while we can enter in that way. So in the process, thank you for being patient and being willing to, you know, work with us and changing and being a mess and, you know, all the different things. So we just...
If you don't like changing, you don't like this church.
No.
Because we always got something going on.
Yeah. So that is the building renovation kind of update. Do you want to do
Yeah, any
that?
questions on the building? Again, we'll definitely do tours afterwards.
The bid is actually a not to exceed.
Yes, the bid is a not to exceed. So with Jan's, we have that that cost plus contract. So we can't go above, or they will not go above the 1.63.
But they could come in.
They could come in
Yeah.
lower, which
They-
it at this point we are slowly taking. We've decided we were going to expand the men's restrooms, which means in the life room there is that kitchen that we were going to move forward, which we were going to have to pull all that plumbing out. We've decided not to do that, and that's going to save us, you know, a nice chunk of money. We also have changed a few other things, just some of the fixtures that were originally priced out, finishes on the floors and stuff like that. We really are trying to do our best in maintaining cost, making it as low as possible, but still nice and the feel of the Ransom. So. Nope, there
Yeah,
won't.
for those at home, since we didn't get a mic, the question is, will there ever be a week that we won't be able to use the worship center, the warehouse space here?
There will not. They will work. There may be some construction, but we will always have access to use this room. There will never be a Sunday that we won't be able to have church. So.
The only thing that's happening in this room, essentially, is that this barn door area over to your left, my right, is going to be taken out, and there will be some restructuring of, there will be a hallway that goes into the new part back there, and that essentially is a egress out of the building. Going to have an emergency exit and things like that. And so the wraparound seating that we have on your right, my left, will actually wrap all the way around. So we'll gain probably, I would guess, 70 to 80 seats-ish in the same room. The sound, when we did the sound upgrade, we did a sound upgrade for the wraparound seating and to pull the things we needed in this room out so that Harrisburg could use them. So even the sound upgrade we did here, we recycled everything we used to Harrisburg. Does that make sense? Because we didn't want to just, waste equipment. So that is already done. At some point, we'll put, video screens on the sides for those who sit on the sides, but we've just held off on that because we're just trying to, again, we're in the middle of this build. We're just trying to be fiscally responsible any way that we can. And that's really nice to have that, but we can live without it right now. So that's the only real change that will happen in this area at all. So, yeah, behind me, you can't see it if you're on the tape, but behind me, the part of the wall that is inset will be open into the backstage once that's built, and so this whole drum will slide back. We'll have a little more stage space, stuff like that, but nothing that's going to affect the use of this space at all.
Moms can be happy to know that the prayer room is actually relocating to the basement. And then also there'll be 2 life group rooms down there in addition to a large space for creative and the closet and all of that ministry. But this area we're going to kind of turn into a room for moms to be able to go into during service if you have a small child and you want to still be part of the service or just have some privacy, then you'll be able to go in there. We're going to reuse one of the big windows over there from that office area and put it over here and have some sound piped in so you'll have the opportunity to, that has been one big thing that we know that we missed in the first project. Yep. And something that we are trying to take care of in this. So.
Got a question in the back. Can you run the mic back there? Thank you.
Kathy.
Way back when all this started, we were supposed to pray for a beam. Whatever happened to that beam downstairs?
Those were the 4 beams that I was talking about. Is that right?
Yeah. Originally there was going to be 2.
Yeah, we're removing 2 beams, 2 columns from the basement, and then those steel beams that I was talking about, the 4 that we have 2 in, and we're waiting for the other 2. Those are going to be the support for the floor. It's actually right underneath us here. For the floor.
They're kind of important.
Yeah, and basically what that's creating, when you go to the basement, you'll see the large room for our 1st through 5th graders, our Revolution kids. It's going to just give them more space to be able to have a stage and set it up a little more conducive to their ministry.
And the prayer request, particularly that Kathy is speaking about, we had asked some people to pray that the engineers would be able to actually do that, because those 2 columns would have been really inhibitive, and they're the only 2 columns were taken out, but the floor is 10 inches thick. So when you're talking about taking out 2 columns, that's kind of a big deal. So they were just saying, engineers were going, ooh, this is a fun project. I think maybe we could do it. And we were praying, oh no, this has to happen. This has got to happen. So yes, the prayer, we're go for that. So yeah, so thanks for praying. We got a question up front here, Deborah.
We did one fundraiser. Are we going to do another fundraiser, or will the funds come out of budget?
For the building? No, the fundraiser we did is it. The reason up to 1.2 million will cover the rest of the build. Like Lissa said, now our goal now isn't more fundraising. Our goal now is to be as fiscally responsible as possible. We're fairly confident we can shave that we can come in under the 1.2. If we come up to the 1.2, like for instance, she said we're not going to do the men's bathroom. That's going to save a chunk of money. But one of the things we need to do is put a new roof on this place. And so if we come in under the 1.2, there's a good chance we'll go ahead and choose to do that. Lissa's going to talk in the second part in the financial about what that mortgage is going to do for us. It gives you an idea what load we're going to be carrying then. So let's jump into that.
All right. So our current mortgage we moved into this building 2 years ago in December. December 24th was our first service. Obviously, we purchased the building in May.
Yep. April or May. And we worked in here. Tirelessly.
Did the remodel and everything upstairs. And with that original mortgage, with the purchase of the building and also the remodel or the renovation, we borrowed $875,000, and so that makes our mortgage at this point $5,530 a month is what we pay to WIF, Wesleyan Investment Foundation, who gave us the loan. Our new mortgage, if we borrow up to the 1.2, would increase, or that second mortgage would be $8,255 a month. And then, again, if we go up to that 1.2, our total mortgage payment at the completion, when we're up to paying the whole loan in full, would be $13,785 a month. That makes me want to throw up. But we know, we've seen time and time again, God has just been so faithful and has blessed us over and over. He continues to show us anytime we hire a staff or we do something big, we talk about it and we pray about it, and we just think, oh, I don't know if we can do this, and we just get this peace in our heart that we should do this and we should move forward. And every time, 100% every time, especially in the hiring of staff, even though our bank account didn't have that cash in it at that time, the next Sunday, we would always have an offering that would cover our need. Every staff we've hired since I've been with the PHILLs. We haven't been called that for a while, the PHILLs. And it's just amazing to see God work, and we just know that He is with us, and that He'll lead us and do it. And so we really are financially very healthy. You can see, in addition to the mortgage, we have the HARRISBURG rental for the middle school is $400 a week. And then our office rental over at the Harvester building is $1,800 a month. But then that takes us into our financial health. And like I said, we're very blessed and we are very healthy. So our total general giving year to date, this does not include today's offering, but through last week so far. And one thing I should mention, our fiscal year runs May 1st through April 30th. So that's what these numbers are showing. They're not showing from January 1st. They're actually showing from May 1st of 2013 to today. So year to date with our fiscal year is $1,012,667 in tithes and offerings at the downtown campus. That is just the general line. That does not include other donations.
Like building donations.
Or
missions.
Yeah, missions and that kind of thing. And then Harrisburg has already done great in their 3 or 4 services, not counting today. So it'd be 3 services, 5, right? 3 services, yep. $5,992 they have gotten. So our total tithes for our total general giving is $1,018,659 so far. Our current budget the actual budget is just over $1.2 million. So you can see we're sitting really nice already in our current budget. And what we need for general weekly giving is $23,520. So every week, that's our need to average in order to cover all of our expenses that we have on our current budget. Year to date, again, it says there, May 2013 to April 2014, or actually through last Sunday, our general weekly giving has been $22,684. So that's showing we're a little bit low. But if you look at just our last quarter, we are averaging $27,743. So for the whole fiscal year, we started a little lower, which pulls that average down. But the last quarter, actually the last 2 quarters have been really right on track, where we need to be for that 23,520 a week. Lots of numbers.
Yeah, and let me throw just a couple more numbers at you, because a lot of times you hear like that mortgage and it just sounds like a big number, right? So I just want to put in perspective. You know, like sometimes perspective helps. I sit on our district board, and so we have to approve all the building and things for all the churches on our district, essentially. Right now we have a church. Now, granted, it's a church in Watford City, North Dakota. If you know anything about the oil boom right now, there's just money everywhere, right? But we have a church of 250 that's borrowing $1.2 million right now. Okay, so I mean, just put that in perspective. We have a friend of mine whose congregation is probably like 40% larger than ours, maybe 50% larger than ours, and their mortgage is $3.8 million. So sometimes those numbers help you gain. It just seems like a big number on the paper, but that kind of helps you bring some perspective to what's actually going on there. One more stat for you: Wesleyan Investment Foundation is a fairly conservative banking company. Okay, like they're not just like money, have money. Believe me, they're not just like that. I tried to get them one time to be like that, and they're not. But their just general rule is they will loan you for a building 3 times what you bring in your general offerings for 1 year, which means that we can borrow, by that stat, $3 million. Okay, we borrowed 1.2. We talked with them about how do we make this as conservative as possible, and they challenged us, and we said, yeah, let's do it. Let's raise $400,000. That's where those numbers came from. So that gives you some stats to put all that stuff in perspective. So.
And the final thing I want to point out is we've always said that we will give away our tithe of our general offering. And the last 2 years, we've actually given more than our tithe, or the 10%. But we're on track right now. Let's see. So year to date, like I said, the general giving was $1,018,659. And year to date, we've given away to our Compassions Ministry, which includes the global missions that we support, things like
giveaway.
Hawthorne, the Closet, really any Compassions Ministry. We've given away $96,686, and we're right on track, because I have, Poetis we give a monthly support check to, Casas we give a monthly support check to. So those are things that haven't been paid yet this month that are coming. So that's one thing that I commit to always keeping my eye on, to not ever get too far behind where we can't follow through on that. That's what we said, and I think that's so important, and something that I think all of our staff are very proud of that we do. So.
Any questions on finances? Perfect.
We've got a monthly expense of $1,800 for office rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a time where the offices are going to come back to the church location?
No, and here's why. Because it's cheaper to rent those offices at $1,800 a month than it is to put them back in this building. Our stat, we rented this office because we ran out of space here. And there's been a lot of question about why did you choose to do that? There's extra expense. The problem is to build, like we're utilizing every inch of this building currently to build enough space to house our current staff plus future staff at this location would cost us more than that $1,800. I mean, it's just exorbitantly expensive because we don't have the land. Like, we're to the edges. There's no other place in this facility. Like, when you look at the plans, lobby space, when we start weighing like ministry versus office space in the building, like the lobby space right now is insane, right? You come in here on Sunday, it's insane. We just decided lobby space was more important, you know, like having the space to minister. The kids' space was more important. You can't put offices in the basement. It's just not good. So there's just literally no place to put them anymore, you know? The only place we could put them is back here, and again, then we're killing our nursery space. We're putting our babies in the basement. And so that actually, like, we tried to find something fairly, again, 1,800 is a big number, but we tried to find something fairly conservative. The average office rent in town is about $14 to $18 a square foot triple net, which means for 1,000 square feet, what's that, Aaron? Be quick on me.
Cody.
Well, it's $12 a square foot times, it's $12,000 a year for 1,000 square feet. So you're talking $36,000 a year for 3,000 square feet, which is what we have now. What's that a month? 3,000 a month, and we're paying 1,800 a month. So, and we've got a great relationship with our landlord, Rick Gorley. He's actually, because our staff is actually about to outgrow our offices, which Cody's going to talk about in the residency program, which is coming up, and that's exciting. But Rick knows that, and he's keeping eye on other spaces in the building that we can expand without having to leave. But bottom line, it's about, you know, it's probably like 55-60% of any other office space. So that's why we made the decision of ministry versus office space, and yeah. I don't know if that is a good answer, but it's at least the answer right now.
I just had a question. Is the loan from the Wesleyan Foundation because it's a low interest, or is it like interest free? Is that why you go with the?
No, but it's loan. It's low interest. I believe it's like 5.2.
Yeah, and it's also high relationship. Like, I'll give you for instance, a church in our district grew like crazy this year, but they reached a lot of people who don't know Jesus, and so tithing's obviously not right. So their giving went up, but not near what their expenses did. They got a little tight, and WIF is so ministry oriented to be able to call them and be like, hey, can we pay interest only for 1 year so that we can just balance? And they're like, sure, no problem. Or let's restructure your loan so that you guys can keep ministering, which you just don't get anywhere else. And so, yeah, they're invested. They're a ministry. They're invested in what we're doing. And so, yeah, yes, it was because they got great interest rates, but it's also because they're low interest but they're high relationship. So. And our DS probably wouldn't have let us borrow the money from somewhere else. All right, thanks, Lissa. And if you have any other questions for Lissa, she will be here afterwards. If you want a tour, she'll be here afterwards. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Cody. I'm actually going to leave because Cody is going to invite someone up in a little bit here. Cody's going to talk to us about student ministry and about our residency program, which I'm sure you're excited to hear about.
All right, and I'm going to have Natalie Wiseman come on up. She's going to talk about some of the children's ministry stuff that is going on. That falls in the realm of students. And so, Natalie, we're just going to let you talk a little bit about some of the awesome things that are happening. And we're super excited for the remodel and for what that means for the children's ministry, because we've been busting at the seams. If you get a chance and you're at the downtown campus, just peek your head up on some of the monitors that are there, and you'll see 30 kids, 20 kids stuffed in these rooms with these adult leaders. And to be able to have that space to spread out and do some of the unique things we do in our children's ministry is going to be wonderful. It's going to be effective, and we just have some cool things going on with hearts being transformed. So, Natalie, I want to turn it over to you.
It's way easier for me to be in front of kids every Sunday than it is to be in front of grown-ups. But yeah, if you don't have kids in our kids ministry, you have probably no idea what our kids ministry looks like. So I just want to give you a quick snapshot of what we do on Sunday mornings. And like Cody said, we have some really amazing things that God is doing in our kids' lives. So basically, our kids ministry is divided into 3 areas. We have Explore, which is our nursery ministry for ages 0 to 3. We have Discovery, which is our preschool and kindergarten ministry. And we have Revolution, which is for our 1st through 5th graders. And each one of those different ministries, we also carry out our vision for the Ransom, which is worship free, live free, serve free. We bring all of that into our kids ministry as well. So you've probably noticed some of the things that are happening out here, like we've moved our preschool ministry into what used to be the office space, and that's because, like Cody said, we are bursting at the seams. Our nursery area, we've expanded so that we have 3 nursery rooms now. Our infants are in one room, our 1-year-olds are in one room, and then we have our 2- and 3-year-olds in another room. A new change that we've made to our kids ministry as well is that we're now doing a curriculum with our 2- and 3-year-olds, which is awesome. It's the same curriculum we use with our preschoolers, and so even our 2- and 3-year-olds are hiding God's word in their heart. They're learning the basic truths about their faith, and it's incredible. So Melody Chrisman is doing a great job of organizing that. And we have moved our preschool ministry, like I said, into our old office space, and they are packed out in there too. So we are so excited that we're going to be able to have the kids space in the basement, which is it's going to really just allow us to do a lot more with our kids. Also in our Revolution classroom, which I said is 1st through 5th grade, we do a small group time in there. So like I said, the worship free, live free, serve free is carried out into our kids ministry as well. So we're teaching our kids to worship. We have worship time with all of our different age groups. And we're teaching them to live free by teaching them the word. They do memory verses each month, and they are learning basic Bible stories each month. And they're in community with each other in small groups based on their grade level in the 1st through 5th grade. So when we move down into the basement, we're going to just have space to be able to do that. We're all in one room right now, and it just makes it really hard for our kids to be able to have intimate conversation with their small group in that one big room all together. So we're really excited to have that space downstairs. I just want to share a couple of cool stories with you that's happening in our kids' lives. So we've had a little guy that's been coming to Revolution off and on for the last couple of months, but he's a guest of one of our regular attenders. And this little guy has 0 experience with church, none. And to watch his face as I teach on Sunday mornings, like his eyes are this big around and he is soaking it all in. And a couple of weeks ago we had baptism. And his small group leader came up to me and said, Natalie, this guy wants to be baptized. And I said, okay, let's have a conversation about that first. And so I was able to sit and talk with this little guy about what baptism is and why we do it, and really, ultimately, who Jesus is. And it was just incredible. And, you know, he's just learning. So he wasn't baptized that day, but we are able to just pour into his little life. And he's asking questions. He's being able to talk to the people that brought him about what he learned that Sunday. Like, he repeats the story word for word. Just incredible things that it's so cool to see from a kid's perspective, learning those things for the first time. We have another 5th grader who just recently we were talking about fear in Revolution, and we were talking about what their biggest fears were. And his greatest fear was that he didn't know where he was going to go when he died. And so I sat down with him and was able to talk to him about his faith and about what it looks like to accept Jesus as his Savior, and that he can walk out of here today knowing that he's going to heaven. And that was incredible. I prayed the prayer of salvation with that little guy that day, and man, it's just, I'm telling you, God is transforming hearts, little hearts, in our kids' ministry, and I love it. So that's from a teacher perspective, but let me give it to you from a mom's perspective. My daughter is 2.5. I'm getting emotional talking about it. I did that this morning too. My daughter's 2.5, so she's in the 2- and 3-year-old classroom. And she came home last Sunday and was telling me her memory verse. Mommy, this is what I learned today. The crowd was amazed at his teaching. And I mean, she just was precious. Like, she knows her memory verse. she knows it, and she was able to tell me what she learned in church that Sunday. So she's hearing it at home, but she also has teachers here who love her and who are teaching her the word, and I am so excited about that. So not only am I excited about it from a teacher's perspective, but from a mom's perspective too. We're doing some really cool things at the Ransom with our kids, and so I'm just excited to continue that. As we move down into the basement, we're just going to have an opportunity to reach a lot more kids, to do more ministry down there, and to have an opportunity to serve. That's one thing. I said that we do worship free and live free, but I didn't mention the service part of our ministry too. And at Christmas time, we try to do service projects with our kids too, and so at Christmas time, we partnered with the Loop, and we took our kids to the nursing home, and we were able to sing for the residents there, and that was incredible. The kids loved it, the residents loved it, and it was just an awesome partnership of ministry there. And so we're going to continue to do things like that. One year we did, we made fleece blankets, we did fleece tie blankets for to give away at the closet. So just some really cool things that we try to incorporate the worship free, live free, serve free in our kids ministry too. And we're just excited about what's happening with our kids. So if you're looking for a place to serve, kids ministry is a place to do it. So come and talk to me afterwards if you want to.
And I just want to add one thing. The young man that she was talking about, whose eyes are this big and is so excited to hear about this man named Jesus and what he means, he's there because of some students in the children's ministry, inviting them because they're so excited for what's going on, and they have a heart for Christ and for the lost because of what Natalie and her team is doing in the kids ministry. So she is doing an amazing job, and as a parent, I want to say thank you on behalf of parents, because the same thing, my kids are at home saying their memory verses, and Natalie not only facilitates and runs everything that you see in the children's realm here at the downtown location, she pours into Shannon, who is the lead at the Harrisburg campus, and she has her hand in that as well. And so Natalie is very busy making sure that our children grow up knowing the Lord. So any questions? Yeah, absolutely. Any questions for our children's ministry? Anything you want to know on the children's ministry besides where do you sign up to get involved? Thank you, Natalie. We're going to turn a corner a little bit, and we're still going to hang out in student ministries. I want to talk about the youth group, Ransom Teens, a little bit. As some of you may or may not know, this is a relatively new ministry for the Ransom Church. We've been doing Ransom Teens for about 8 months now, is all that we've been doing. And one of the reasons that felt like God was calling me here is talking with Pastor Phil Tagg and talking about youth ministry, as he's an ex-youth pastor, and with Will, ex-youth pastor. We didn't want something at the Ransom that was attractional. We didn't want the youth ministry to be something that was the pie in the face and the fun in the games and as attractional. We wanted some depth and some substance to what is going on. And being in youth ministry for almost 15 years, we were in agreement. Our hearts were aligned in that, and that's really what has happened. And so for those of you that don't know, our youth ministry model is vastly different than the traditional youth ministry model, and I love it. I love every aspect of it. A snapshot of what this looks like means that our students meet on a weekly basis in life groups. So we have teen life groups scattered all across Sioux Falls, Harrisburg, and they meet in groups of 10 to 12 in these covenant communities that you heard Pastor Wandi talking about. They are meeting in these groups, and they are doing that. And they are doing our R3 curriculum, which stands for Rewind, Reflect, and React. And so the students are encouraged and almost forced into coming into church service with their parents, taking notes, engaging with the sermon, diving into scripture, and then going back to their life group the following Wednesday and discussing those things. So that model happens the first 3 Wednesdays of every single month. Then the last Wednesday, all of the teen life groups come here for what we call Life Rally. And this is a time for them to be encouraged as they look around and realize God is working amongst the teens in Sioux Falls. And they see the person that they play on the sports team with, or that they saw on the play from their school that they may not have otherwise known was involved because they're in their life group. And that is more of your traditional youth setting where we have student-led worship from our student worship team. We have a teaching time, and we dive into things. And it is absolutely amazing to watch this model happen because the students are thriving and amazing things are taking place because of this model. So currently, in the first 8 months of existence, in our life groups, we've averaged 62 students over the first 8 months, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, that they want to dive in and they want to go deep and they want to establish roots. Then at our life rally, which is, if you think about it from a normal youth model and from what they're teaching at our colleges and all of this, this should be the attractional event and there should be all kinds of individuals there. We have 67. So there's only a 5-person difference, which is telling me our teens are diving into these deep communities and they're growing, and I'm ecstatic about it. In fact, the majority of our growth has come through the small groups or the life groups. They're inviting their friends to the life groups and not to the rally, and that is absolutely wonderful. So we also have a mission trip coming up for the teens, and we partnered with Pastor Wayne and the Compassions because we don't want the teens to be separate and that the teens are here and the church is here. And so we strategically approached this year with 2 trips. We're doing the Casas trip with Pastor Wayne, and we're doing a trip to Kansas City. So I was able to talk to students and push them towards Pastor Wayne for those that are ready to go to Juarez and to build a house with Casas. And as well as I was able, and some of you and I have already had conversations about pulling the church into what we're doing in Kansas City as we go do an inner city mission trip. So with Pastor Wayne, we have 2 parent-student combos going on this trip, and I think that is fabulous. So for all the parents that are watching or parents that are in here, I highly encourage you, dive into one of these mission trips with your students. It will be so valuable. And then for our Kansas City mission trip, we have 33 adults and students that will be heading to Kansas City to do inner city work during June. So that's just a little snapshot of our structure and what's been going on. I would like to share just a few stories as well as Natalie has shared. We've seen a handful of salvations, and we celebrate that, and that's so exciting. And if you were here for the baptism services just a few weeks ago, there were 5 teenagers who made that commitment to be baptized. And here are some stories that have just come in just this semester alone. We had a student who was checked into the hospital, and when you fill out the paperwork to be checked in, you can put your religious affiliation and you can put who the pastor is so that they can have visitation rights to come see you. And when the student and their family filled that out, they put their teen life group leader as their youth pastor. Now that's absolutely amazing that our leaders are making this connection with the students and going that level, and they were like, that's who I want here to show me where is God in the midst of all of this. Absolutely amazing. I got a letter from a middle school student at our last rally. Her parents were outside waiting and she had to go, and so she sent this letter to me, and it says, hey Cody, I've never actually accepted God into my life, and I was wondering, would you be able to sit down with me and help me with this? And so God is moving in the lives of our teens, and we see that. And one of our other high school groups, the students got to talking about how the Bible is taken out of context based upon one of Pastor Phil's sermons. And the students started asking the life group leaders questions like, okay, so how do we know that the Bible's really from God? How do we know man didn't mess it up? How do we know that this is real? You see, and because of this life group model, because of the relationship they have, they can ask those questions without feeling shameful, without feeling like, well, duh, don't you know this? And so amazing growth is taking place. Or this one perplexes me too. Okay, middle school girl, keep that in mind, starts talking with her life group leader, and she's talking about this boy that she likes, and her question isn't, should I be dating him? Her question out of a middle school girl's mouth is, should I be dating at all right now? Will you help me seek this out? Amazing stuff. And so because of this life group model, because of that, we have amazing foundation to build some depth with these students, and they're inviting their friends, and I am just 100% thrilled. But I must say, it's not me. God has been completely moving and working, and we have 32 leaders on the youth team. That includes adults that are opening up their homes as host homes, and that includes these life group leaders, and Aaron Booth is a worship leader leading the teens in worship and teaching them how to do that. There's so many people involved that without them, this would not happen. So just absolutely amazing stuff happening in Ransom Teens. So I guess we'll open that up for some questions before we move on.
Cody was running the mic around, so here, let's do this. We'll do the mic switcheroo. While we're getting ready for that, the most overwhelming thing about this meeting is actually that there's so much to celebrate. Like, I can't even process it all. Like, are you feeling that right now? I was telling Aaron down here, I can't even, like, the layers of things God is doing, I'm just like, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing around here. I don't even know why I'm here anymore. These people can just run this thing, and I'll just go stack chairs. But go ahead. Questions? Maybe I didn't see a hand. If not, hold on to the questions and we'll jump into the residency program, which I'm really excited to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of what I'm responsible for is anything that's student related. So working with Natalie and the children's through the teens, and then we're getting ready to start a residency program. And so I want you to think of it like this. I don't know how many times you've been to the doctor and there's been that strange person in there that you didn't know, and your physician says, hey, you know, this person is just getting ready to graduate. They're doing their rotations through the hospital. Is it all right if they sit in and learn? Because what we're finding, and whether it's in the medical field or as a teacher doing student teaching, is that our universities are doing an amazing job of teaching individuals the head knowledge and everything that they need. But in 4 years, you can't learn the head knowledge and the life experience and practical skills that are needed. And so they send them on rotations and through these teaching hospitals or to student teach at a participating school. And we are going to be doing the same thing as a church. We are going to be a teaching church where these residents can come in and they come to the Ransom and they get their hands on ministry where there's the world's biggest safety net, but yet they feel the full pressure. Because here's the statistics that are out there. Last in talking with a resident director that puts together these programs, his name is Miles with 12 Stone, and he says right now the current stat is that 80% of our college grads who are going into pastoral ministry will leave the ministry within the first 2 years. So we only have 20% sticking. Whatever reason, we can pinpoint that on many different things. But hear this. Those pastoral ministers who go into some type of residency program where they are guided and they have accountability, they have support over the 2 years, 80% stay. So it completely flipped itself on its head by having that additional 2 years. So where does the Ransom fit in all this? We set captives free, live free, serve free, worship free, right? We are called to build the kingdom, not to build the ransom. So this is a perfect fit for us. Young men and women are going to have the opportunity to come to the Ransom, and they're going to spend 2 years with us. During the course of 2 years, we have 6 learning or teaching objectives that we'll walk through with them that they're going to be able to learn, but they're going to get their hands on ministry and be able to do that. So over their time here, you're going to see residents start to come in. We actually have a husband and his wife that are here. They're checking out the church this weekend, and potential residents. Some of you who have met Ben and Cody, I won't put them on the spot any more than that, but they're here checking it out. So you're going to see these residents come through. They're going to be committed to the 2-year program. We will be bringing aboard, if God provides, 3 residents, and their program will start June 1st. So it's going to be relatively soon. And the residents have 3 areas of emphasis right now of which they can focus on. So the first is youth and children's ministry. The other is creative arts. That's what you see with Phil Wiseman and what he does here. And that's the set design, that's the tech side, that's the slides, that's all of that. And then the last one is spiritual formation. What do we do with people in the church? Those that have just accepted Christ and they've been a believer for 5 minutes, and those who have known Christ for 40 years. How do we, as a pastoral team, grow God's people? And so they get an opportunity to choose one of those 3 areas of emphasis that they're going to learn from us as a staff as we get the opportunity and the privilege to pour into the lives of these young men and women. Now, we are providing them a small stipend, and we will be providing them room and board. So that's where a plea comes in. We need host homes. So if you are willing to host a resident for 1 year, I would love to have a conversation with you. We can talk more in depth of what does that look like. So the residents are giving up a huge salary. Well, if there's a huge salary in ministry, they're giving up a salary.
Yeah, this is all relative. We're paying them like a couple $100 a week. So comparatively, they're giving up a huge salary.
Thank you for the clarification, Phil. They're giving that up to be able to learn and grow because they're also seeing the need. And one of the students I interviewed, I said, okay, so why the residency? You could go out and you could get a job as a youth pastor right now, so why the residency? And her response was this: I realized through serving in the local church while being at school the last 4 years that I am not ready for the things that are going to happen. I know that I have the head knowledge. I know that I know the Bible. I know that I have those things, but I have no idea how to put together a budget. I have no idea how to handle a parent. I have no idea how to strategically plan a ministry for over the course of a year or 18 months so that the kingdom can benefit, and I need to learn that. So our students are realizing this, and we get to come alongside them, and we get to provide an opportunity to do this. Most of you know Pastor JUANDI. He comes from 12 Stone in Atlanta, Georgia, who had a residency program. We are partnering with 12 Stone, which means they're providing the curriculum for us. They are providing the coaching. I get to meet with Miles, who's the head of that program. We get to meet. He gets to mentor me through the process as well. And so we're not just flying into this willy-nilly. We know we're called by God, and we're so excited to pour into these young men and women. So,
any questions about the residency program itself? Obviously, we're super excited about this. Super excited. So, okay. Well, listen, that pretty much ends what I wanted to cover tonight. I talked a little bit. I had 4 service thoughts on here, but I talked about that already a little bit. And I just want to give you, what time is it? Let me check. Somebody got the time? 7:30. Okay. So I don't want to go any later than 8, and I don't think we'll go that long. But I just want to open it up to anybody who might have any questions. You know, if you didn't come and you're watching this at home, you can email us your questions, and we'd sure like to get back to you. But for those who are here, maybe you'll address some of the questions that would have been asked otherwise. Any questions about anything we talked about, or did we not cover something that you really are curious about?
Mine's more of just a statement. I got to do flame classes, and one of the classes I took was church leadership and management. And there's 15 of us in this classroom talking about church leadership and management, and what you are doing is so vital. Of the 15 of us in that classroom, I have gotten the privilege to see some of the leadership training that you do here, and it is amazing. There was 2 others in that room that had similar experiences, and they were at Kentwood Community Church. The other 12 were severely lacking. Some of them were pastors of small churches and just had no clue of what it takes to build leaders in the church. And so we are truly, truly blessed with a leadership team that has great teaching techniques to teach other leaders and is willing to take that down to the next generation of pastors. And so I'm just so excited after seeing that and knowing what it's doing for our church, to see so many, like Phil was sharing, how there's so much going on. Lives are being changed at every level because of training. It takes training to build leaders, and so I'm just so excited to be a part of a church like this that is training up so many people, because it's affecting the kingdom of God. And as you train those type of leaders that are going to go wherever God calls them, it's going to affect other communities around the country and world. So I'm excited about being part of that. What little small part I am, I'm excited about that.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Aaron. Aaron's one of our elders, and he did not say that because he's one of our elders. And he's not one of our elders because he said that either. But praise God. I feel that way too, obviously, and I'm completely biased. But any other thoughts? Any other questions? I think the line says, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." Is that how it is?
We didn't hear from Will tonight, but I have a question about first impressions, I guess, and the new entry area. What is the plan to do? I mean, bookstore, coffee, are we changing anything out as far as?
Sure. No, okay, basically the lobby just gets bigger. Okay. There will be some coffee shop style seating, but not a coffee shop, so to speak. Basically, it's just going to create more opportunities for conversation. So obviously, Will would thoroughly welcome more First Impressions volunteers, more guest services volunteers. One thing that's going to actually help us in the remodel is that the west doors are going to be exit only. The reason they're going to be exit only is because there's going to be access to the basement, and we have kids down there. And so we don't want people to be able to walk in from the street and walk straight down. I mean, there's going to be volunteers down there, but let's just avoid that situation. So they'll be available for exit, and they won't be like fire doors. They'll just be exit-only doors. And so that's one less door to man, so to speak, which is great because those people who have been manning that door can now kind of help in other areas of the lobby. But essentially, we're just going to have more space for more conversations. I don't know if, I don't want to put this on our tech guys, but I don't know if, I know what the long-term plans are. I don't know where in the timeline these plans will happen, but eventually we're talking about having some screens out in the new coffee shop area or coffee seating area for you also have the lobby drifters who are just never going to come in the service, and praise God for that. And so let's just put the service out there too. Eventually we may, the room that is being used for kids for the 1st or 5th grade right now is going to become more of like a meeting space. And eventually we've had conversations about possibly putting video in there, so if we need overflow seating, we could do that there too. But that won't necessarily affect first impressions in a major way. I mean, obviously they need more volunteers, but. All right, I'm going to close this in prayer. Again, if you're at home, email your questions if you got them. And if you are here and you want to see the basement, where's Lissa? She's downstairs already. So if you want to see the basement, just maybe meet out in the lobby out here in about 5 minutes. We'll do a walkthrough, okay? So let me close this in prayer. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you. We thank you for the gift of accountability. We thank you for what you are doing here. We don't claim any of the credit. We don't want any of the honor. We want you to receive all the praise. We pray that everything that's done in this place and by this place, in the community and in the world around us, is done for the glory of God. It's done in the name of Jesus Christ. It's done by the power of the Holy Spirit. That is our prayer. Thank you for so much that we had to celebrate, that my heart literally is full to overflowing. And I thank you for the fact that you are just getting started. We praise you for what you're going to do here now and in the future. In your name, amen. Thanks for coming, everyone.
The God of